Hello everybody and welcome back. Today you guys are in for a real treat as I have a bunch of brand new aftermarket parts going on the Skyline build. We're also going to have data logs with the TP4070 CM 2200 kV motor and the Mamba X6s speed control. And to transfer all the insane power from the TP4070 CM motor, we have these insanely robust 10mm titanium center drive shafts from Island Hobby Nut. These are their signature Arrma drive shafts. Well, let's not spoil the surprise too soon, so let's sit back and enjoy the video. Let's dive into it. Yes, it was handed to me in person.
So you're going to need some actual tools to do this. This plastic, it's really strong. So I got this air-powered Harbor Freight. So you can see it is basically a hacksaw, right? It's like a handheld hacksaw. And you need one of these bad boys. Extremely efficient, gets the job done. I mean, no matter what you're doing, it's going to take care of it. It's just not going to give you that flat of a surface. Where are my files? You can have these files here, right? Got the coarse file. Then finish it with the finer file. And it gives you finish like this. Look how nice that is. Well, you get the point, right? Really nice, smooth finish. You don't gotta worry about sandpaper going through all those grits. You know, just use these files. They're good for a lot of things.
Get those little burrs off. So I'm gonna have to use this rock tip. It's actually a dull one. The other ones are too sharp and pointy, and they are gonna end up opening the hole larger before they make contact with the outer edge. Yep. Hello everybody and welcome back to another original video of Toys for Boys RC. In this portion we're going to be unpackaging some aftermarket parts for the Skyline build, including this Ram Jam spool kit, so let's see what those details are.
Ram Jam Racing's 8mm titanium spool shaft with custom hardened ultra-strong 4041 tool steel cups. The 8mm titanium spool shaft is precision ground and the flats are machined perfectly parallel to prevent gear wobble. Mated to our custom ultra-strong 4041 tool steel cups. This spool is ready for a serious beating for use with many aftermarket spur gears. Includes spacer combinations for the stock Arrma spur, Saga RC spurs, and many other spur options.
And for anybody who is questioning the fitment and assembly of this Ram Jam titanium spool kit onto your factory Arrma felony, infraction, or limitless, let's see what the details are on that.
The Arrma Infraction 6s titanium center spool fits the factory Arrma motor mount. No modifications required. The cups clear without issue and will not mark the mount.
And last but not least, let's go over all the parts that are included in the Ram Jam titanium spool kit.
This kit includes Grade 5 titanium center spool shaft, Grade 5 titanium spur spacers for stock and Saga spurs, 2x4041 tool steel cups, a X7 hybrid ceramic bearings, 5x8 mmx, 2 mm shims, 4x O-rings, degrease.
So do not forget to degrease everything once you have opened up the packaging, especially for the ceramic bearings, and you want to lubricate them with proper bearing oil. You also want your Loctite to adhere to the threads on the grub screw and the drive cups, so be sure there is no residual oil before getting to that point. So the next part we're going to be unpackaging is from Scorched Parts, being a carbon fiber top brace. So let's check out the details on that.
Scorched Parts carbon fiber center brace for infraction and felony models will also fit Limitless, but see below. This center brace mounts not only does the job of the stock center brace, but stiffens the whole chassis by bolting to the center diff mount and adding torsional rigidity with laterally solid mounting front and rear.
There is some type of fabrication you are going to have to do to one of the plastic pieces on the front end of your RC car, but I will explain it in detail when we get to that point and you will get to see. And last but not least, we have Island Hobby's signature Ironman RC titanium drive shafts with a 10mm diameter, and they fit without having to remove your rear lower brace, but you will want to remove some material just to be safe, and the front lower brace does have to be removed, but that can be corrected with the Scorched carbon fiber top brace. Okay, now, so if we're going to be technical, let's at least be fair about it, right? Because I've done this test in the past where I rolled a pair of aftermarket shafts on a ruler and found a surface defect on one of them. And I had more upset people than what I had people with questions or answers. So if I'm going to take that route, I have to be fair about it, or I got to be transparent. I can't be biased. What I'm looking for is a surface imperfection, like a flat spot, a divot, a grind mark, whatever it is. We're checking out fine. Just wanted to clarify that. And to also clarify the type of metal, we know this is titanium. It's not stainless steel. We know it's titanium by its color. These sleeves or spacers are also titanium. These drive cups are going to be hardened steel. And these spacers, oh, these are super magnetic. These spacers, washers are also going to be made of steel. Oh, that's strong. So now, these shafts, we know they're titanium. And these pins are hardened steel. They are not stainless steel. I apologize if I said that somewhere at some point, or maybe I was talking about another pair of identical shafts, but these are hardened steel. You can see that, just to get that out of the way. better, considering this is stock bearing grease, not oil maybe. And it spins slightly better, considering that these bearings haven't been degreased. I can feel that the oil's thick. These have been. Look. See the difference? That's after cleaning these bearings out and lubricating them with bearing oil. I mean, I don't expect it to spin like this on the motor mount, but at least better than what it's doing right now. Because look at it. Man, that's a big difference from spinning 30 seconds to 3 seconds. That's a huge difference. I'm gonna try removing that shim from there. I'm gonna try removing this one as well, because I don't want to get this wrong. All right, you see? Now we're talking. So these shims, I didn't need any of these. It brings 5 of them. I have another one in the bag. It brings 5 shims, none of which I needed. Looks a little weird. I don't know if I have to cut something, and this didn't come with instructions. I don't know if I'm supposed to cut and grind or modify something. I don't know if I'm supposed to remove it. It looks like there's a piece missing. So if you're wondering how the Island Hobby Nut 10mm Arrma titanium shafts fit into the Ram Jam titanium spool set, which I think it's ceramic bearings. This is a Power Hobby gear that you're looking at. It's an oversized pinion. So it fits. Look at that. Little play, little deviation, no resistance. This O-ring that is remaining, I am going to use it inside the rear input diff cup, because even though this one is a little bit longer than the factory one, and if you want to know by how much, it's about 1.3 millimeters. But there's still quite a bit of play, even with the spool and everything in. So I'm just gonna throw this. So here's what the clearance looks like with the O-ring in there. You can see it. That's about where it puts it out, somewhere in the middle. So we're gonna put the spool in and see where we're at with it. There's a little bit of play in the front, but I'm happy with it. It's like about 1 millimeter on each side. The rear shaft has slightly more play still. If I had one more O-ring, I'd try putting it inside of the diff cup. But for now, I mean, we're good, you know? I could probably put this on this cup instead, because the spool cup runs a lot deeper than this rear one here, the stock one. This is the rear mounting bracket for the upper brace support. This piece did not need to be removed, so it will be reinstalled. So in this time-lapse portion, you're seeing me try to figure out how this piece goes on here because it really didn't come with instructions and it was a little frustrating at first. This piece, I don't think it needed to be removed. This piece comes this way facing up, flat side down. And this is gonna rest on top of the brace. And you have to use this because without this, this piece is just going to slide back and forth on the screw. And you will have enough material to shave off material for this to fit nicely in here. So there it is in place, and it's not bound up, it just needs more clearance. And once you pull this out, you can see that there's not much material removed as it is, so you have a lot of room, and this is pretty thick. As for the front, you are not going to be using it. See this tiny little gap? You have to fit this to that gap, and it's not happening. This is not going to go back in there. You might get lucky if you're using an aftermarket servo mount that you are going to reposition and take it out of the way, but this is not going to go in there. That's bye-bye. It's going to line up just like that. And this is what it looks like on this end. And you have to use this brace, or you just cut the head off and you use it as a spacer, because this scorched top brace does not come with that. The kit I received only came with this aluminum piece and this bag of parts. This aluminum piece below would have been very helpful, but my kit did not come with it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind and cut off this top hump right here that's no longer gonna be utilized, and use this as a flat bracket spacer or adapter to let this come down and meet flush there. So having an accessible wrench, Allen key, you take that off, this just comes right out. You don't even got to pull those pins out or these long screws. Just be sure that you do not lose your little washers that go here. These just block off the top and grind it down. Like new, except for that little edge. And in order to get this to come down and meet flush with that, I got to take out the factory motor mount cover because this doesn't work with it. And it doesn't tell you that anywhere. I don't see any parts that work together with this for me to be able to use this. So these are two different style aftermarket motor mount covers that will work with the existing motor mount. This will allow the scorched top brace to function properly, as it will allow enough clearance. Well, with the exception that I actually made contact where I did not intend to. It's already starting to look ugly, but we have contact. Here. Looks like I could remove some more here. Alright, so this went well. This didn't take too long. You can see that from here, it's perfectly aligned. We just want to be sure that the shaft, the Arrma drive shafts from Nut Hobby, which are the ones that I'm using, the 10mm shafts, we want them to be centered. So let's go check that out, and if we need to remove more material, we will remove it. But we've done good. Let's see how much clearance. Okay, so here we are with the lower rear brace again. I've been working on it for some time, and I was able to remove plenty of material between the Dremel and the sandpaper with the aluminum rod like you've seen. It looks like I have enough clearance, but I want a little bit more clearance, and I want to flare it out on the edges. It's deep enough, but on the very edges, I don't want it to continue wrapping around the shaft. I want to flare it out, and then I'm going to smooth it out with some wet sandpaper. I don't need to go deeper. What I need to do is just go a little bit wider. So we're back at it. Let's get some light in here. So the reason it looks so smooth and clean to where you're seeing it is because I brought it all the way down to an 800 grit wet sand. Started with 80, went to 180, 320, 800 wet sand, and then I washed it and rubbed some bearing oil into it to restore it. So there you have it. And it's also flared out. You see how it's got a smooth transition. It's just not a cut into it. I flared it out. It's flared out. So our Nut Hobby Arrma shafts, they are 10mm. This is about 10.5. And you can see it's wider than what it needs to be. And we know it's deep enough because before doing anything to this, it was still in stock form. Without doing anything, I already had clearance. It wasn't even touching. In here, let's see what we're working with after all this elbow grease. Check that out. This needs to move over. Look at that. We got plenty of depth and we got plenty of width. We're not coming anywhere near this shaft. Look at that. And you can almost look straight down it and see the bottom. Look at that. I think we did a great job. You guys did a great job on this brace. Congratulations, guys. So front standoff identical to that one has been cut off like you seen earlier in this video, and I block sanded it and smoothed it out. Now the scorched carbon fiber top brace can come down flush. Now let's talk about the different motor plates. The one that comes on the Limitless is a different motor plate than the one you get on the Felony and the Infraction, so let's take a look at some of those differences. Looking at these two images, we have the motor plate for the Felony on the left and the motor plate for the Limitless on the right. If you acknowledge the yellow circle, you will see that the Felony has a lot less material than the Limitless does. Now here is the motor plate for the Limitless. It is going to position the pinion gear further away from the spur, allowing you more room to run a larger pinion gear for speed running. Now this next motor plate is the motor plate that comes on the Felony and the Infraction. It does bring the pinion gear closer up against the spur gear, allowing you to fit smaller pinion gears for lower gear ratios. I will do my best to post product link descriptions in the comments below for both of these motor plates, as it is difficult to distinguish them when shopping for them because these details are not specified. It will only tell you Felony or Limitless. This is a Weller iron. I wouldn't use anything other than a Weller because it's just what I'm familiar with. The station is capable to handling up to an 80-watt iron, but this iron is only 60 watts. And my dial for this, I don't have it all the way up, and it was more than enough heat than what I needed. I don't want to put too much in this position because I don't want it running down the wire. You see how the heat was already compromising what's on there from the factory. That didn't take any effort at all. Should be enough tolerance to let this plug in. You're gonna use the wire loom. If I don't do it right away, I'll do it early on. I just don't want to put a piece of shrink wrap over that. So this is where we're at. This took a very long time. It always seems like it's not a big deal. They're just 3 wires with a few connectors, but that's never the case. There's always a lot of technicalities that come up and proper planning to not make any errors. So this is just the Mamba Monster X. It's a 6S rated ESC. I've pulled about 200 amps out of it, so I know I can use it just to mess around with the car and just get things moving. So, but I'm not gonna like bash with it or drag race or anything like that. This wire loom was not a large enough diameter to go over these 8mm connectors, these plugs, whatever, so I'm fine with that. I'll grab some more stuff in the future and I'll redo it. I don't know so much about this color pattern, and it's too large for the wires that are running in here, and I'm also thinking about redoing this. I can minimize this. I can minimize all these wires and actually use something like this. Now that I know everything is set and done and everything works, I can go ahead and, you know, clear out those little details. But for now, that's what I'm looking at. This is the thermostat probe for the digital sensor, the whole screen for the motor. Just waiting on a few things to come in. So changing this mount, this upper brace from the factory one that sits higher up to this low profile scorched carbon fiber one, it changed the gap difference between the engine bay and where it rests on the bottom. So these 3 extra pieces of PVC board that you see that I've cut and glued on there is to make up for the difference. And it still sits slightly lower. I mean, it's less than the difference of the width of another one of these. That's 3 millimeters, which is just gonna create a slight separation between the bottom of the hood and here. And that's still okay, because I can make up for that difference with a very thin type of padding that I have. A more aggressive weight. These Hobao wheel hexes and the nut aren't locking nuts, so I have to use thread lock. And I got a little temporary piece of tape in the back of the motor to cover the vents just for now. And I'm gonna put, my fully charged 3S packs on here, running a TP4070 2200 kV CM motor and a Mamba X6s. So I have it geared low, running a 42 spur on a 20 pinion. It's geared, just about 100 miles an hour on the ground, not on calculator. So everything should turn out just fine. Let's give it a couple revs and see. So this is the current setup right before taking it for its maiden run. It's a little messy. It's not as clean and organized as I wanted. So I'm obviously going to be taking care of that in the near future. But for now, this is how it's looking, just so I can get some logs and see what's happening, being sure that this Mamba X6s isn't going to go up in flames. So let's get to it. So that was the animated turbo sound that I made using a turbo keychain. I'll make another video in the future showing you guys how I did that for those who are interested. But right now I'm trying to figure out why these lights are flickering at the touch of the throttle. And they're even flickering when the speed control's idler beep goes off, which is something that shouldn't be happening. So it could be the cheap little mini speed controls, but I'll figure that out in the future. Let's get out there and see what this does. This Lucas Speed Wax detailer, I've been using this for over 20 years. This is great for Lexine plastic, which is a hardened plastic and is very impervious to a lot of things, but this Lucas detailer is also designed for paint surfaces and plastic. Spray it on a rag and you wipe it and wipe it off with a dry rag while it's still wet. It's like Windex.
Perfect.
It's like 130 miles an hour maybe, so on the ground I'm predicting 100. So excited for this car. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I say I'm not gonna hit you, don't worry. I'm back outside at one of my better locations. This is the first time that I'm going to open this up. This is the third time I'm driving the car, but I haven't been past 60%. So today we're going to try to go 100% throttle on the Mamba X6s on the TP4070 CM 2200. So let's go. So this is the current setup. Just never mind these black wires. This is for the underglow. I just wanted to have it for tonight. And I have these fans that I'm trying out. They seem to be working. They don't blow that strong, but I'll compare them to a better set of fans that I have when we get to that point. So this is just last minute here, but we'll get a good look at this once it's all finalized. We got reading on the GPS, 1.6 miles an hour. There she is in all her glory. Seeing her out in broad daylight for the first time. I'm gonna turn these lights off for a second. Seems to be going a little to the left still. $46. 46. Let's try again. I need these lights because I need to be able to see the car. And I haven't driven this car, so I don't know what it's going to do. Okay, it'll get it. It'll get it. It wants to get it. Let's go. Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it giving in. I think I may have hit 60, maybe 56, 57 miles an hour, but I feel like I brushed 60. What? 6? Yeah, I was right. I thought it would be about that. 66.5. What are my motor temps? 104. 104. This motor got piping hot really quick without fans. I got these fans on it. They're mediocre. They look great. I got them for a good deal, but they're mediocre. But it works. It works. I don't know how it's gonna do when I go 8S on this, or at least just upgrade the C, even if I stay on 6S. But I need to tighten up my front shocks a little bit. Scraping the ground. Let me put the action cam on here so you can get some. Okay, let's blow this up. What am I looking at here? Okay, so that's not too bad. I mean, any ripple is not good. Wow, 3.9 horsepower. 4 horsepower basically. That's not bad. 4 horsepower at 115 amps. And check it out. The speed control temperature did not exceed 178, but it reached 200 on the maiden run. And the maiden run, I didn't push it as hard. I didn't push it as hard on the maiden run. And speed control got 200 degrees. And on the previous one where I did those digs from a dead stop, look at that. Motor RPM are the same. 28,000 RPM, which is pretty much exactly what I got on the first maiden run. Power output 63%. I think my power output last time was maybe about 48 or 50%. So milliamps, not even 2000 milliamps. That's not too bad.
Perfect.